you get a design the way that it's supposed to be, it just kind of sings at you. It does, it hits you in your gut like the first time you listen to Taylor Swift.
So I've set out to build a website template for Showit, and not just any template, mind you. I want to make one that is not only free, but is easy to use and is highly downloaded by Showit users. Unfortunately, there are a lot of really great designs on the Showit marketplace, so my work is cut out for me.
Well, today is the day. We are gonna start working on the actual design of the template that we are creating. And I gotta say, I'm excited, but I'm also a little verklempt, if you know what that word means. This project has been almost like a bathroom remodel where you're like, oh man, we'll get it done. It'll be quick. Here's our budget. Everything's gonna be fine. We'll get the right contractors. They'll come and do their thing. And then like a good Chip and Joanna TV story, something happens and they have to call the owner of the house and say it's gonna be another $5,000. Why is it always $5,000? Well, this template has been a little bit like that. There have been things that have come up that we didn't realize were gonna be there. There have been other priorities that came up that I had to attend to, but not anymore, my friends. Now we are gonna put our head down, we're gonna work on this thing, and we're gonna get it published. And it's actually coming together pretty beautifully. But in this episode, I wanted to take you through all the ins and outs of designing the homepage, because the homepage for a website really sets the pace for the rest of the pages that are present. If we take our time and really get this one right, then all of the other pages are going to be much easier. But if we just kind of blow through it and don't make wise decisions, it's gonna bite us in the end. I'm gonna walk you through. I'm gonna walk you through all the layouts. I'm gonna walk you through all the different things that I try and how to tell whether or not something is working. I'll show you a little sneak peek on my processes for the things that I'm doing with graphic elements and even things like image compression. So let's just dive in. Okay, the first step in creating any website on Showit is to actually go into your account and create a new site. So let me show you how to do that. I'm on a site of mine here. I'm just gonna click my name and then go create a new site design. Anytime you're doing a new template that you're going to sell, or in my case, I'm gonna be giving away for free, I have to start with simple. I can't start with any of the other templates that we have here, and that's just one of our policies at Showit. You can't build a new template based off of another template. So I'm gonna come in here and say, start with this design. And then what I like to do is I just like to go in and clear everything out. So I'll actually come through and just delete all these canvases, just because it's easier for me just to start fresh, because you kind of have a sense already of what we're going to be building, because we've done a little bit of work with the site map. So we don't need anything to be giving us ideas about what canvases should go where. So I'm just gonna come through and do all this stuff. And then I'm gonna come through on our canvas sets, which is something that we use to add headers and footers to every single page. And I'm just gonna turn off it being available on the home page, because I'm designing these from scratch. So let's go back to the home page and you'll see we've got a nice blank canvas to start our painting, if you will, our website painting. Okay, I'm gonna add a blank canvas just to have something there. So let me just show you the process that I would go through and add my own branding dimensions to a different site. So first I would come through, I'll add a little bit of the darker one over here, and I think we'll start with that black. Add that through here, and then I'm gonna come through, let's add this yellow as our second color. We'll go through and change all of the font settings so we don't have a yellow header. Cool. It looks a little bit like a Skittles bag, right? You know, we're tasting the rainbow over here. But that was kind of the idea behind this template. We wanted it to be bold and bright, and so I think we've accomplished that. I think mission accomplished and everything that we were trying to do here. So now we're going to come through and add our fonts. Thankfully, we don't have to upload any original fonts, right? We can use Google Fonts and add those to our library straight from within Showit. So if I go over here to fonts and then choose font. So there were a couple fonts that we were going to use. The first one was Sign, and there we go. So I'm just going to add probably the entire family here, because as I'm getting going, I might not use all of these fonts, and if that's the case, then I'll come back and I'll take out the ones that I'm not using, just so it doesn't get confusing for somebody who's wanting to use this template later on. But for now, I kind of want to have these fonts available whenever I'm testing things out or trying to figure out how things are going to look. So just going to go through and add every single one of them, and then you'll kind of notice that when you add one, it'll go to the next weight until you get all the way to the end, and then there you go. So now that we've got a few fonts here, I'm just going to come through and delete these guys. So what's our other font that we went with right here? I believe that it is Varia Serif Library. So good stuff. And the final one is Work Sans. So we'll do a Varia Serif, I think I said library. It's Libre. You heard Libre, right? Okay, so a Varia Serif Libre. Okay, so we've got our normal, then I'm gonna add light, and then we'll add the italics and the bold as well, just so that we can have all those fonts available. And we'll come through and say Work Sans. I think this was going to be my paragraph text, which I will add light and normal. I know I won't need all of these here. So when you're looking at this, it's probably pretty intimidating to see all of the fonts that I've got available. But again, this is just to mess around and to play with the different fonts and the different weights and how they look and feel together. So we're not necessarily going to use all of these, but this is for us to have a big palette to be able to get creative with. All right, so I've got all of my fonts loaded, but in order for them to show up on this part of our setup here, I need to go ahead and save that from the very beginning. And then we'll come back through, and now all these fonts should be available over here. So bada boom, bada bing. So let's talk about each of these specific fonts that we're going to be choosing and how they relate to the web pages that we're building. You've got 4 font styles that you want to pick for your Showit design settings. The first one is the title, and this is what's known as the H1 header of a web page. And H1 is really important to a web page. It kind of lets all the search engines know that this is kind of the main point of this page. So you want to make sure that when you're setting this up, that people can kind of visually cue to the fact that this is the most important thing to read about on this web page. And I've seen folks kind of get cute with their title tags and not really be descriptive of what the page is. But you want to be descriptive, you know, that this is a marketing website. This is a marketing agency in our example. We don't want to be like, you know, hi, I'm Chris. Like that, unless you're trying to show up in Google for, you know, the search phrase, hi, I'm Chris. That's not really going to be helpful. So let me set it up real quick. I'm going to come down here, and I know that I probably want to do the sign ultra bold just because I really like that big bold flavor. And I'm going to start out pretty big. Now I might come through and make this quite a bit smaller, but for now, this will be a good like first pass idea. I'm gonna bring down the line height a little bit. Since we do have such big text, we don't want it to kind of massively take up all of the space. So we'll bring that line height down, and that just kind of shortens the gap between one line to the next. So we've got one line and then two, and that line height is gonna bring this line a little bit further up. So let's look at the mobile side of things. So 36 is not bad because the font that we've gone with is a little bit wider. It's probably going to need to be smaller, or words aren't going to fit entirely on the screen. So I'm gonna leave this as is for now. Everything else looks pretty good. We've got our alignment. We've got our margin underneath there, letter case. I probably am gonna go with uppercase on this just because I really want this title or this H1 tag to stand out really well. Okay, moving on. Heading. These are our H2 tags. So these are kind of the subdivisions of each section on a web page. You never want to have a web page that is just a whole bunch of body copy without little bitty visual text cues to let folks know that this is a new section and here's the main idea of this section. We want to come through and make sure that we're adding this on our web page, but also making sure that there's a little bit better of a visual cue about the fact that we're splitting things up as somebody scrolls down. So I'm gonna come through right away and add this color because we don't want it to be yellow. And then I'm gonna go ahead and stay with ultra bold. This is something that people are going to read a little bit more intently, and it's probably gonna be more words than our really big H1 title. And so we wanna be sure that people can read it. Uppercase is a little more difficult to read, and so we're gonna make it lowercase. Don't come down here and do the same thing that I did for our subheading. Our subheading are our H3 tags, and so these are sections of subsections, so it's just getting a little bit more granular when it comes to the types of ways that we're splitting up different things. I personally like to use this subheading font as my button font. And so I'm actually gonna come through and see what we did here, which I think it was a sign regular. So let's just go and do that. So we're gonna choose a font, sign, and that's normal. I'm gonna increase the font size, and then we will bring that line height down to 1. Let's maybe make it 1.3. We're scooching it up some. This is the process. You do little scooches until you go too far, and you come back and you say, okay, now we're good. A little bit of letter spacing on our button text is fine. It kind of gives a little breathing room, and then we want to keep this uppercase on the letter case as well. Okay, so finally our paragraph font. So this corresponds with the paragraph tag in HTML. So it needs to be something that is easy to read, fun to read, but it's not all caps, right? Like you want it to be something that people can sit down like they would be sitting down to read a book. And if you make it difficult for folks to read, it just makes it that much more likely that they're gonna jump from the web page and not pay attention to you anymore. For this guy, it was our Averia Serif Libre normal. So let me try a little bit of light because I think I like that font weight a little bit better. I don't want it to be justified. I want it to be left aligned. So let me just make sure here on that. And then we're gonna bring this line height. Now I wanna have a pretty decent line height for the paragraph because again, we don't wanna scrunch things to the point where it's like people have to squint. But I don't think I want it quite as big as that 1.5. So I think the only thing I would change is this heading font right here. So instead of it being center aligned, we're going to go to left aligned. I tend to like more left aligned stuff than I do center aligned. So, but it all kind of depends, and really we'll figure that out when we get into the nuts and bolts. But I'm happy with this as a first pass. One thing to note about like individual tiny little changes on text that you're adding to the web page. If you diverge from the site style too often, you need to think about whether or not you should just come in and change the site style altogether. Because when a individual text has been changed that's different from the site style, anytime a user comes back through and let's say they add a different font to the title, that text that was changed individually won't get changed. Let me show you what I mean. I'm just gonna save my settings here and come back and add a title. But let's say I bring down the font size from 100 to 80, okay? So I've done that for this text right here. And now let's go back into design settings and we realize that, okay, we actually want our size to be a little bit smaller than that, right? Like in general, we've been doing about a size of 70 on each of the font settings. So when I come back through, I save that, but you'll notice this stayed 80. So, and you'll also notice that there's a little plus sign next to this style. So you see how there's title and then there's this plus. So if you scroll back, it'll go to the site-wide style setting. But anytime you make a change, it's gonna add that plus style, which means that this specific element of this font is not going to change even when you make a global sweeping change within the style setting. So you just wanna be careful. You don't wanna have to cause people to go to like individual sections and make those small little changes one by one, because that can get tedious. But sometimes it might be worth it. So you've got to weigh the balances and say, is this worth it, or should I just keep this the same as the site style, the site-wide global settings that I have for this font? All right, so we've got our global site style settings set up. Now we need to go and actually put pen to paper. So for the first section, I really like to focus on the layout. Like how does it feel? Where should images go? Where should text go? And I start with what's called a hero section. The hero is the very first section that a user will see when they hit a web page or a landing page, and it kind of needs to grab attention and have some power to keep people focused. Because if you don't keep people focused in this section, then you're gonna lose them. They're gonna be like, I'm not interested, and they'll bounce, and then you'll never see them again. So let's go through. I've named this canvas hero, and this will be the big text that they see. So why don't we say something like, stand out and get noticed. We are a marketing firm after all. So let me just do this. So already I can kind of tell that my font is probably a little too big. So it only has like 4, 5 words here, and it's already scooching close to the edge of our canvas here. So I'm gonna come back through and bring this down. Let's bring it down to 90. See if that works. Yeah, that gives us a little bit better breathing room. And we will keep this up and down the center as far as alignment goes for now. I want to try out some different things. There were a few sites that I was really drawing inspiration from that I think I want to come back to. So the first one was this Reducations. So I really liked how they had the text straight up and down the center. I liked how they had images in between there, in between some of their words. So we might try some of that. And there was another one that I found actually after all of this. It's something like Rebel Studio. Oh, Rogue Studio, there it is. So I really liked this layout here, and how they had their different work that they've done up on the very top of the hero here. So I'm probably gonna be pulling pretty heavily from this. So we'll keep that there. So, all right, so we've got stand out and get noticed. That doesn't really describe the page itself. So now we need to pull in some paragraph copy and be a little more descriptive. So let's just say we're a full scope marketing firm that helps you and your business get the attention it deserves. Yeah, we'll go with that for now, huh? Okay, so we'll bring that up to the center. So now let's add our button and cause that. So I'm gonna come through and add a rectangle, and this is gonna be the background for my button. So I know that we don't want our background to be black. So let's come through and change that to yellow. And we are gonna go with some pill buttons rather than just straight edge. And to add some weight to the button itself, because right now this just kind of feels like it's floating, I think I'm gonna add a border to this. So let's do 2 pixels, and then let's make it black. Actually, let's go up to 3 pixels. Yeah, that makes it look a little bit better. So before I go too far, I want to make sure that my mobile side of things doesn't look too crazy. And I like to actually edit the mobile and the desktop at the same time. I know a lot of designers will do one and then the other, but I've just found it's kind of easier to keep things clean as you go along, rather than let things get messy and then come back and have to do a complete overhaul of the kitchen. So I come through and just kind of set things out a little bit close to what I want it to be. And you can already tell that, yeah, we need to keep this font down to about 36. So that was a good decision on the site style settings. So one of the things I'm noticing is I actually don't like the 3 pixel border size on mobile. It feels a little bit too heavy. So I'm gonna come through and click on this ellipsis, and we'll split the mobile and desktop size. So that way we can have different sizes on the different screens. And I'm just gonna bring this down to 2 and see how that feels. Yeah, so that's feeling much better at this point in time. So, all right, let's go back to desktop, and I'm gonna add some button text. And remember, our subheading is what we used for our button text. So anytime I add a button, I can just kind of bring this in and do that. And here's how I set up buttons. And I haven't seen a lot of designers do this, but it's kind of the best way. So you're not having to add a click action to both the text and to the rectangle. So that's multiple steps that you don't necessarily have to do. So I take the text and just make it the same size as the button itself. And then I line it up to be exactly aligned with the rectangle or the background of the button. So let's change the text here and say, start with a call. Okay, so you'll kind of notice like the text is all the way up at the top. How do we fix that? Well, we do that with line height, my friend. So I'm gonna come over here and I'm just gonna scooch this line height down to where it looks like it's about at the middle of the button itself. So again, now we can come through and just add 1 click action to this button. We don't have to, do this and then add a click action to the rectangle itself. So let me go back through and just make this the same size. Okay, boom. So, but you'll notice on the line height there, we don't have that desktop and mobile icon, right? So that means that the line height that's on the desktop is also the line height that is on mobile. So we want to come through and actually fix this. So I'll do the same thing that I did on the desktop side, make it the same size, same width, and I'm going to come through and actually split mobile and desktop. So now we can just bring this down. But as I'm looking at this, you can kind of clearly tell that the font size is just way too small. So we'll come through and bring that up on our site-wide settings. So let's get that to at least 16. Save that and see how that works. Okay, so now we need to go back up just a skosh. Now, if you're like me and you like using subheadings as your button font, then what you can do, rather than having to guess at how big each button should be, because you want to have some solidarity between one button to the next, like you want them to be about the same height and about the same width. Rather than memorizing, well, okay, button backgrounds on mobile are 34 pixels and button backgrounds on desktop are 56. So I can just come through and go like, okay, this is about how I want my buttons to look. And so now I'm just gonna come back to site settings, and on line height right here, it's 2.7. So we're gonna go, all right, we want the line height to be 2.7, okay? And then on desktop, it's 2.3. So we'll come back through, do the same thing that we just did, but we'll do it on desktop, 2.3. Oh, and we want to split that as well. So 2.7. Okay, saving it. Now I can come through and go bada bing, bada boom. We don't need that plus sign anymore. So now anytime somebody changes the subheading or wants to come back and change the button font they don't have to go and individually change all the line height for whatever it is that they're doing. So. Okay, so we've got our typography all ready to go, but as you'll notice, we need some images, right? That's kind of one of the big things about a marketing firm is they're going to want to have examples of their work, right? So to do that, we need to find images that we don't have to license individually. There are really two sites that I kind of stick to when it comes to images. The first one is Pexels, and the next one is Unsplash. These are different websites that are free to be used however you wish. There is the possibility that somebody could use this template and not change any of the images out. So we want to make sure that we have the legal standing, if that were to happen, to not get sued and then have to pay whoever's work this is some type of licensing fee for every time somebody looked at or used this image. So best way to do that is to use images that have the ability to be used carte blanche, right? No questions asked. So let's just go to Pexels here. With Pexels, I really like to find an artist that has like a style that is something that I'm looking for, and then I just kind of look at all the stuff within that artist. We have a unique issue because we don't necessarily need images. This isn't a photographer's website. We need something that is connected to a brand or a marketer. So I think the first thing I would do is go through and say, okay, what about brand shots? Let's just see. Cool, so right here we've got a few brands. Looks like there's a bike brand. There's this backpack brand. People are talking about brand strategy. This is kind of a cool one. Looks like a leather wallet. So maybe they did like a brand shoot for those leather wallets. So, okay, cool. Yeah, so that's the case here. So I'm gonna go through and I'm actually gonna click on this gal's name. So, and then I might just go ahead and download these right away because it'd be nice to have just a few options here, okay? So then I just kind of scroll through and see if I can find that shoot specifically. So sometimes this takes a while. Every once in a while you get lucky and somebody has done a good job of putting their photo shoots in different collections, and so they kind of keep all of the same photos together so you don't have to go searching endlessly on their page here. So I'm not gonna bore you with the rest of the process of me finding a whole bunch of different images that we're gonna be putting on our little section here. So, okay, so I've got a decent amount of images to kind of play with and test out layout. But before I move on and start actually putting these on the website, we need to bring them down to size a little bit, because right now they're really big. Okay, so take for instance this image right here. It's 3.6 megabytes in size. So that would take a lot of time to load, and if we add even 3 or 4 of those on a page, it's gonna make it that much harder. So there's a couple of things that you can do to get the size of an image down. The first thing that I like to do is actually just bring it into Photoshop. If I just drag this into Photoshop, and then I'm gonna hit Command Option Shift W. I know that's quite a lot, but that's the short key that I use. It's also just the Export As option. So if I come back through, I'm gonna go up to File, and then Export As, and it's gonna do the same thing. So there's a few things that you can do over here on the right side. So we don't need this to be 4,000 pixels by 7,000 pixels. So we can actually make it much smaller, and you can see over here the file size and how it changes when we do different things. So first of all, we're gonna turn this to a JPEG, because JPEGs are typically smaller than PNGs. And then we're gonna come through and say, we only need this to be about 30% of that. And we're about 800, that's still not great. So I'm gonna bring bring it down another 10%. So now we're in the 300 range, which is where we want it to be. So I'll come through and hit export, and I'm gonna go back to my marketing template, and this was the leather wallet. I'll create a separate folder and I'll just say compressed. Now I wanna name it something that is kind of descriptive. So leather wallet, pink, BG flat lay. And you don't have to get as crazy as I do, but I like being able to look at something and read it and go, oh, that's what this is. So we're gonna hit that and save it. Then another thing to make it even smaller is I use a software called Image Optim, and this is free to be able to use. But with this, you just drag the image into this software, and we went from 300 kilobytes to 87, right? So now we've got a really compressed image that is pretty decent quality. You know, like we wouldn't use this as the hero, you know, like it's a little blurry, but this isn't gonna be as big as this. Like it's gonna be much smaller. Then I would go through and I would just kind of do similar things for all the photos that I know I'm gonna use. And I try to batch up my tasks into things that are like one another. So I'm not just gonna go and take this and individually put it on the canvas and then go to another image and then do all that, because you're doing task switching, which is a little bit more tedious than if you're like, okay, I'm just gonna go through and I'm gonna do this to all of the images that I think I'm going to put on. And if there's the one off where it's like, well, this isn't kind of working, that's okay. But we're just trying to keep things as efficiently as possible. So now I'm gonna go through and compress some more of these images. All right, so we got some images to play with. Now I'm just gonna start bringing them onto my Showit canvas and playing around with where I'm putting them to see if I can get a similar feel as to the inspiration that I've seen. So, all right, so I've got some of the images in my media library. Now let's start adding things and just kind of see where it takes us. I'm gonna start with this McDonald's guy, and I really like how that looks. So first thing I'm gonna do is just kind of do it how Rogue Studio has done here, and see if I can't get a kind of cool feel by doing that. Now I'm gonna add a blank canvas under here just to give us some space so we can see how things look as we're kind of scrolling. Maybe bring this one up above that. So cool. So this is, again, like I'm just playing around with things and seeing how they look. It might or might not be what we go with, but it's exploratory. So I'm just gonna click preview and see how this looks in the browser itself. So first kind of ideas, there's a few things that I know I want to change. I want to come back through and I want to make this button more rounded, and I actually want to pull down the border size, but this just doesn't stand out to me like Rogue stands out, you know, like the images are smaller. If you scale, like they're gonna get even smaller than that. So it's just not quite working. So I'm gonna try a few other things out and see if I can get it to have that same kind of feel. Now, when I look at inspiration, it's not about copying what I'm seeing. I wanna get that same feel that I got when I first looked at this and I said, man, this is cool. So that's what we're going for. That intrinsic, like, yes, I call it making something sing. And this might be from my music days, but when you get it right, when you get a design the way that it's supposed to be, it just kind of sings at you. It does, it hits you in your gut like the first time you listen to Taylor Swift. It's kind of hard to really say, like, this is what good design is. It's something that you just kind of have to figure out as you go along. And the way that you do that is you look at a lot of design work. I remember when I was first starting to write songs, something that an older songwriter told me was, if you want to be a better songwriter, you need to listen to more music. And so I took that and I started listening to all types of music, right? To stuff that nobody was listening to. And I found little things that folks from the 1920s were doing in their music that I'm like, man, that's cool. What if we could do a new spin on that in a new song that I'm writing? So the same is true for web design. You need to do a good job of just consuming a lot of design inspiration, because you're gonna find different things that people are doing that you're gonna go, man, that's sick. And all of a sudden, you just kind of intrinsically begin to know when a design is good. The same way, like, I can listen to a song and within the first 30 seconds, I can know whether or not it's a well-written song. You need to develop those chops, okay? You need to find some stuff that inspires you. You need to have a place where you're constantly putting that inspiration so that when you get to a point where you're starting to design stuff, it's a little bit easier to know when something is singing at you. So I'm gonna keep working on this until it starts to sing. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mess with the layout. So let's bring everything over to one side and see how that starts to feel. So already I'm kind of liking this a little bit more. So let's move this, and we said we wanted to bring this down. So, and if that's the case, if we're gonna bring it down to 2, I believe that we can actually merge the border size on desktop and mobile. And that's gonna make it much easier for us. Let's make sure that that's left aligned. Maybe get a little bit space from the right and left. We're gonna bring this up, and then I'm just gonna make all of these files just a little bit bigger. Let's bring this off to the side, bring all that graphic underneath all this stuff. Yeah, this is starting to get a little bit closer. So let's preview this and see how it looks. All right, so I might actually grab all of these and then just bring this up. Maybe move it off a little bit and do that again. No. So as you're watching this, you might be saying like, well, why are you pulling stuff off of the canvas? And that's a great question. So the way that I look at designing in Showit is the canvas on desktop, as you see it now, like this is much more for iPads than it is for an actual desktop computer. So, you know, like this is what we're seeing now more in line with what somebody's going to be looking at if they visit your site on a desktop computer. So I don't mind if somebody's on an iPad and they don't see quite as much, right? Because in reality, a very small percentage of the folks that are looking at websites are doing it on iPads. And so I think it's okay if we leave a few things out for them, because that's just not really how people are consuming websites. The majority of them are going to be consuming a site probably on mobile and then on desktop, and then everything else is just a much smaller percentage. So I try to think outside of the canvas lines when it comes to like laying things out and setting things up. That being said, I do want to make sure that we are not forgetting our little mobile layout here. Let's do a few things to make this a little bit better. We might need to spend a little bit more time here. Okay, so I just kind of haphazardly played around with some of the settings, but you know, honestly, that's not bad. Maybe bring it down to right about there, but yeah, that's looking fine. So let's go back to desktop. And this still just isn't hitting it for me. It feels okay, but there's all this space underneath that's a little bit awkward. You know, like I could bring that to the center of the canvas, but it still it just doesn't quite sing the way that I want it to sing. So it's at this point that I would say I'm not getting this to where I want it to be. And so I'm gonna go do a little bit of hunting for some inspiration that might be helpful, okay? So a few places that I do that. One is called Maxi Best of .1, and they curate websites weekly and put different inspiring web designs up every single week. So I just kind of come through and peruse on this every day, but certainly when I'm doing a project. So I like to come through and say like, all right, so something isn't hitting quite the way that I want it to hit. What is something that might be able to help me? Like some type of layout that might be more in line with what I'm hoping that it'll feel like. So I don't necessarily like everything on one side. I really like the up and down feel that Rogue Studio has accomplished here. I just need to figure out how to do that in the restraints that I have. So I'm just gonna keep going until something kind of catches my attention. And you see right here, like this isn't bad. So I might try that. It's center aligned, and then they have like really big images underneath. So I might open that up in another tab just to see what it looks like in a bigger screen. But I'm just gonna keep going. And this is the process. This is the untold story of how templates are made. A lot of it is not glamorous. You're just doing this tedious work until something starts to really hit you in your gut and it begins to sing. I like this, but I don't know if it'll quite work for what we're trying to do here. So I'm just gonna keep going. There's a lot of centered text, but not quite in the way that I'm hoping to do our layout. Oh, now this is really cool. I actually really like this. I like how the images are spanning almost like an arch, right? Like they seem to have a little bit of curve to them. Now this looks like it's probably gonna be a pretty fancy website with some different motion. So yep, when I scroll down, like all the words kind of do some crazy things. And then when I scroll over the text, those images come up. So I'm not gonna necessarily copy this, but I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna try to emulate that on our website here. So one thing that I really like are the rounded edges. So I'm actually just gonna do that for sure. So let's come through and we'll go to effects and then hit our little oval shape right there, and let's go to 20 and see how that feels. It's maybe too much. Let's kick it back to 10. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. And so I'm gonna go back to center aligning everything. So let's bring this text up. And let's bring all of these to the center here. I'm just gonna go through and add all the rounded edges. Now, one thing you can do if you know you're gonna do the same task over and over again and get the kind of the same format of a particular element, you can do what's called special paste. So click on the element that you're wanting to have all of the other elements look like and hit copy. And then on the other images, you're just gonna select it and then do paste, but hold shift down at the same time. So on an Apple, it's Command Shift V. So you noticed on that effects, it just popped up and did exactly that. So then I can bring all these images over, multi-select them, and just do that special paste, and it's gonna do the same exact thing. So let me just do this. I'll bring this right under here, and then let's have this go underneath that. But then I'm gonna scooch it and angle it just a little bit there. And let's bring that over here. A little bit of a scooch. And then bring that down. Okay. Let's make this bigger. We'll scooch again. Maybe we make it smaller as it kind of goes down. I'm really liking how this is starting to feel. Like this is actually starting to really sing to me. I'm gonna come through and actually add some more images now that I know that I'm getting really close to how this layout is gonna look. I'm really liking this. So let's preview it. Come over to my other tab. This is starting to feel really, really good. Now, I'll likely come through and add some more images on the side so it kind of looks like it's spanning the full width of the screen. And then another thing I'll do is I'll probably bring those images up. So let's just do that right now. Bring this up just a tad bit. Maybe the button is just slightly underneath some of the images. Let's see how that's looking. Yeah, that's really sick. Okay, cool. I think we've got our hero pretty well set. So now let's just keep going down this page. Again, this is a tedious process. It takes a lot of trial and error, but it's gonna be worth it if we get it right. Well, this has been such a fun journey to go through building a template from scratch with you all. And I hope more than anything, you walk away with some inspiration for you to be able to take some of the stuff that you've learned from this series and put it into use in your own business and in your life. Hopefully you feel like creating a template or creating a website for yourself or for a client is a lot less daunting. Because if somebody like me can do something like this, then I guarantee that you can do it as well. And the good news is that we are so close to launching the template for you to be able to use on your own Showit website. So make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter, subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're gonna do one more episode where we do a big reveal. It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see you there.